Hi, everyone. That is our new introduction. We got a few changes we're going to make, but you get the general idea. And welcome. I'm Stephanie Mann at the Safe Kids Now show. And I am so excited to have with me today a gentleman that I've known. Oh my gosh, I must have met him several years ago. He's in Washington, D.C. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we met in Los Angeles at a conference. So I'm so happy to have him with me. And to give you a little information about Richard Van Dyke, he is, matter of fact, he has a drywall construction company. And he was concerned about what was happening with children in his community. As I said, it's in Washington, D.C. And he started the Dragnet Enterprises. And he works with kids. Of course, COVID has slowed everybody down a bit, but he wanted to make sure that kids stayed away from drugs. So he started the Drug-Free Millionaire Program. That sounds great. I want to hear more about that. And also he has drug awareness flashcards for kids. And they had become licensed in a world-class learning materials in Baltimore, Maryland. So I'm so happy to welcome Richard Van Dyke. Hi, Richard.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
You know, the first time I met you, I remember you saying to me, I'm not a relative of TV's Dick Van Dyke. And I remember going, oh, okay, got it. But you have a wonderful name, and it's so good to see you again. So tell me a little bit about, your enterprise, it's not drag, it's Drugnet Enterprises.
Yeah, I certainly will. Thank you. Hello, everyone. And first of all, thank you, Stephanie, for inviting me on your show. I really appreciate it. First of all, how I got started is I seen children watching and observing the drug dealers in the neighborhood. That happened to be over in Baltimore when I was over in Baltimore. But anyway, just as you indicated, I decided to step forward and do something to help these children. And there was no programs around for them to go to. So I opened up my door to my home. As you indicated, I'm a drywall contractor. So I'm a concerned citizen. So I create these ideas, and what we do is we create innovative ideas, something that requires them to think outside the box. So, and by doing that, when we came up with the Drug-Free Millionaire Program, it concerned some money and taught them the principle of paying themselves first. So every time they earn money, that's what they did. I said, what do you do every time you earn money? Pay yourselves first, Mr. Richard. Next thing I know, all the little kids come knocking on my door. I opened up the door. I said, what do you want? Mr. Richard, can we spin? So I had some spinners, and whatever number that spinner landed on, that's what the paragraph they had to repeat back to me. So it's 3 cards, and they learned all 3 cards. And it's amazing how children can learn if you find something that's interested for them to do, and I find that they will gravitate towards it, and that's
absolutely. One of the beautiful things is that you were a neighbor, and you saw a need, and you stepped in to help and to fill that need. So,
yes.
I love that, because so many times we ignore our neighbors, but we don't know that they're full of resources and they can help us a lot.
That's true.
How does this millionaire program work?
Well, once I did it in the neighborhood, I went out to the schools and applied it, took it to another level. And I taught them the value of making decisions and the correct decisions in life. I said, it's not the money that causes the drugs, it's your thinking. So therefore, I learned from that and learned from them, actually, the power of a thought. And once I implemented those seeds within their mind, they picked up on it right away. And not only that, but the kids in the neighborhood did the same thing. So it's very simple. And I find if you keep it simple and not complicated, it's easy to work with. And kids and children, they really enjoy that. They really do.
Yeah, that's something that any of us can do once this COVID problem gets solved to some degree. But all right, now what about the flashcards? How does that work?
Well, the flashcards were more or less for a higher grade of individuals, actually. And on those flashcards, you had two sets of flashcards. One of the flashcards that had pictures of various different substances that an individual may use. Even had cigarettes, it had solvents, it had opioids, you name it, it was on that card just about. And then they had the other card that they had the information on it, what those cards, what those certain substances would do to you and what harm it would bring to you. So as a result of that, they made a game, show and tell. So I said, oh, look at this. So they took the cards and they put them up on a board, and they made a game out of it. So that was good too. So
the kids kind of invented their own game from your cards?
They invent their own games from the cards. And not only that, those cards were distributed throughout 49 states, throughout the United States, the company that licensed the flashcards and that I developed those flashcards for. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it isn't rocket science. Kids love to do things. They love to work with their hands. Right. They love pictures. They love also, I think you have a drug-free Charlie. So who is drug-free?
That's good. You did your homework. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to hear about drug-free Charlie and what it's been doing.
Drug-free Charlie is actually a little clown that we developed so that children can have someone to relate to. And as you know, as a child, they love going to a circus or a fair or something. Usually you have a clown there, showing off and doing whatever they do to make the people laugh or act silly. So that's one way we got their attention. So the psychology of that was we made our CD, Drug-Free Charlie, and there's songs on here. And they're very simple. Drug-free Charlie, he is drug-free, boom, boom, he is drug-free, just like me. So when they pat to themselves, internally, they feel that.
I love it.
And if you know anything about the subconscious mind, it picks up that feeling. So at a very early age, even before they knew what a drug was all about, or even knew a drug, they knew the words.
And they sang about it.
And they sang about it. Thank you. And these songs here have them singing, dancing, and talking about staying drug-free. It's something that the whole family can interact with. So we developed this here product right here, and we got a storybook and activity booklet that we put together. This here is the activity booklet that we had on the. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
now, how can somebody get a copy if they'd like to know more about what
what you do is all you got to do now is go on Facebook and place your order.
Oh, it's on Facebook. It's under your name?
Drug-Free Charlie.
Oh, Drug-Free Charlie.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then we got the storybook too that we developed for them. Got little pictures in here of things that kids can relate to. Where they can color a picture of Drug-Free Charlie right here on this page.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and there's more things on here. Yeah, on the playground, anywhere that they socialize or play with, it's just about in this little storybook right here.
That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
How did you actually get started in thinking about doing this other than just seeing there was a need? Well, had you done anything like this before?
No, I haven't, to be perfectly honest with you. Just a result of seeing the children in need and seeing how they were observing drug dealers. I had to think of something to pull them away from that environment. Right. And just like my office is upstairs over top of my office is downstairs and where I stay was upstairs. So, I prayed on it, and next thing I know, just ideas just start coming to me. So
I love that.
That's why I said these are very innovative ideas that they're outside the norm. They're not what you would find in a traditional environment. This is something that we develop for ourselves, and we find that they work. Mm-hmm.
So how did you come up with a song for Drug-Free Charlie?
That's a good question. I was washing clothes, matter of fact.
Oh.
And I was hitting on the washing machine with these little beats and everything. And next thing I just started putting words in that. So I kept it simple. Like I said, drug-free child, he's drug-free just like me. And we have our card here. It says, can you sing me a drug-free song? Now, Steph, if I asked you to sing a drug-free song, you probably said, well, you have to think about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't know any. So I said, well, let me see if I can come up with some ideas. And sure enough, it came with drug-free. I'm drug-free. We got the song like that. Stay drug-free. The drug-free family, so that the family could sing it. So just little ideas like that. It just happened to come to me. So I utilized them.
Oh, sorry. Well, I think this is such a wonderful idea. I wish all of us would engage our imagination.
Yes.
And see what we can do. I worked with AJ Jelani in Richmond, and he adopted about 20 kids in his neighborhood, and started Christmas on the Streets because he saw that there was a need, just as you did. And he interpreted it as doing something for the kids at Christmas time, because it was Christmas time. And then it evolved into, larger and larger. And he got support from the city and of Richmond, California. And even people in the neighborhood got involved, and they made a cart, like a Santa Claus cart. And had somebody dress up as Santa Claus and actually took pictures with the kids sitting on Santa Claus's lap and that kind of thing.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So people are creative. They see a need, and obviously that's what you've done, is to fill that need for children. So are you planning to get back to this as soon as this COVID situation?
Yes, that's a good question. Yes, I am. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be approaching various different businesses in the community, because we have Drug-Free Charlie as a mascot also. Good. And that way they can come there and affiliate with them and take pictures, like you indicated, selfies. They can take a selfie with Drug-Free Charlie at that particular establishment and help boost that business. And not only that, but show the community the power and the strength that they have when they anticipate in these type of activities.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. This is so exciting that you have been able to accomplish this. How long have this been going on?
Oh, God. Let me see. That's a good question.
Before you answer that, Richard, let us take a break because we have a little commercial in here. So let's take a break, and we'll be back in a minute, and we'll find out more about Drug-Free Charlie.
Thank you very much.
You're listening to All About Us Radio. We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AAU Media, and visit our website, www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request. You're listening to All About Us Radio. You're listening.
Welcome back. And I'm speaking with Richard Van Dyke. And Richard has a wonderful program that is called, he's got Drug-Free Charlie. And he gets kids singing. He gets the children working with workbooks and helping them to understand that you want to be drug-free and filling their minds with something positive about stopping the use of drugs, instead of just saying, no, don't use drugs. He's creating a vision within their own head so that the kids know for themselves that drugs are not a good thing. So drugs need to be a topic that we talk about all the time. And, Richard, I've got some comments for you, because we do have some people online, And I love the fact that we get some interaction and we invite people to ask questions. And Cher says, it is good to be creative in finding resources. Okay, absolutely. And the Drug-Free Charlie book, is it on Facebook?
Yeah, it should be on. I just went on there the other day to double check before your program came on, and it's on there. Yes.
Good. And another question is, what age group does Drug-Free Charlie target?
Yeah, well, the age group that we've been targeting is the pre-K, actually, because I know there was a gap in there and nobody was really on it. But some people say, well, they're too young. They didn't. I said, well, that's true too, but still, no, someone has to break that ice. And because, as you know, you'd be amazed that what children learn in a daycare center. A friend of mine owns a daycare, and I observed how she interacts with the children. I said, and it works. Yes, from pre-K up to about 8 years old. Because the younger they are with this type of music, it clings to them. Even my grandchildren.
Good.
My daughter-in-law said, Richard, says, I have to hide the CD. I really do, Mr. Van Dyke. I have to hide it because Cindy, all she does, she wants to play that CD at the morning and she wants to play it at night. And that's the goal. So
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's very positive. I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, we got another question. New drugs hitting the streets. What programs do you have in place to educate the parents about the community to bring more awareness? Have you thought in that direction at all?
To be honest with you, we haven't geared the parents in terms of the drugs per se, the specific drugs. Fentanyl, we know, is a new drug on the market, and some of the other things. So they have other organizations that actually target the parents. Drug-Free America is one organization that's very good at that. So, but we feel in that space where we work directly with the children and the parents, they interact also with them. They may not know the name of the drug, but still know it's that thought. It's that thought that we want to present to the children.
About all drugs.
Yeah, a thought about being drug-free, period. Just what you said about all drugs. Yes.
That's great because I don't think sometimes kids, if nobody talks about it, it doesn't seem that big a deal.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like us watching the news media. We all know about COVID because that's all they talk about. Yeah. And all we hear about are the politicians talking.
Yeah.
So that's what we're aware of. And
one thing, I'm sorry, go ahead. One thing Drug-Free Charlie plays a role is whereas the parent has something to interact with. Hey, you can stay drug-free just like Drug-Free Charlie now. Remember Drug-Free Charlie was a clown? You see, oh, mommy, daddy, that's right. Yeah, Drug-Free Charlie. Little kids are happy as can be. Yeah, just it tickles me, but still, no, that's what happens. Yeah, you'd be amazed at the reaction.
Well, I think you're doing a wonderful job. And let me ask you a little different question because I know there are a lot of drugs out there. You're doing your part. We should all be doing our part in helping the kids. And I commend you for that.
Thank you.
I'd like to know what you think about where we are in the scheme of things with the overall problem of drugs in America today. What do you think?
It's a bigger
question. Yeah.
Even though they legalize marijuana, that's what we consider the gateway that leads to drugs. So whether you legalize it and control it into a certain area, still no, you're going to find that segment of society that's going to deal with the black market. So it's always going to be here. It's been going on there since the 20s and since the United States been conceptualized.
Since time began, I think.
Yeah. Way back in came when they had jazz, they did with Coke and all the different things. So it's just more of it now. It's more into the society than ever before. Yeah.
And what do you think about the rap music that's going on? Does this contribute to kids taking drugs, do you think?
Well, I don't know if it contributes to taking drugs, but it has a great deal of influence. Right. Okay. I know some youngsters, they listen to it and I said, wow. And that's what they listen to all day long. They listen to the lyrics. They listen to it. I said, wow. And as being a senior citizen and adult and lived through the various different stages, you can see the changes in the young children or young kids today. It's much different. And with the music that they're playing, it has a great deal of influence over the minds of our youth.
Yeah. I also think there's an indoctrination into sex at an early age today. And I think kids cannot handle that emotional interaction with somebody else at an early age. And of course, that can also lead into drugs because they're trying to escape what's happened to them or their emotions, or they don't know how to handle those emotions.
Yeah. Well, there's so many various ways for them to get involved with drugs today. They can get a blunt, and they see their friends. I see when I go to the gas station, get my gas, you see the young kids watch that. They know it. They know better than you and I.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, they really do. Those who are involved in it, they know the industry real well. Most of them. Yeah.
Right. Well, here's another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you encountering youth at younger ages encountering more experiments with drugs? And are they experimenting with it more now or less? How do you feel about that?
Well, that's a good question. It depends on the neighborhood that you go in, that I find. You'd be amazed at some of the kids, they learned about drugs at such an early age. They're dealing it. They're willing and dealing because of someone who's older than them that shows them the ropes, and they get involved in it. So it's, how can I put it? It's very difficult, extremely difficult to bring a child. That's why I might as well call them a child out of that environment. So if they're in that environment, then they learn basically what goes on in that environment. Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you, Richard.
Yes.
What do you think needs to be changed here to really make an impact to keep kids safe?
Well, I think number one, the parents need to be more involved. Okay, right. You'd be amazed at the great deal of influence that the parents really have over their children. I'm guilty of that. I says, wow, I tell my brothers, my sister, I says, someone, I said, we spoiled our children. I says, I'm guilty of that because we want them to have a better life than we had when we were coming up. Even though I might have came up in an environment that was tough, but still in all, my mother, my father, they set a good example for us. We had to be in at a certain time. When you set those guidelines for children, it gives them structure. And that's what they need, that structure. We couldn't eat unless father came home, so we had to wait. And we know we had to be at that dinner table when my father came home. So we had structure. Nowadays, everything is fast food. This fast food. So
we've really speeded everything up, haven't we?
We speeded everything up. You're right. Consciously or unconsciously or consciously, we did it. We really did. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me see. Rebecca asked a question here, and she says, thanks for teaching kids that forfeiting their mind for acceptance is not acceptance. It's just abuse. Thanks again for being you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we all thank people that are involved and really making an effort to change what's happening. We can't change the world, but we can change what's happening around us. That's and obviously, you're the one making a difference in your area. Another question here is, have you been involved in juvenile centers around your area? Have you been involved in that at all?
My nephew handles that. He works with a lot of juveniles right now. So that's just coming out of jail or safe homes where they may be in. So he's involved. So I remember when he's a little baby, he grew up, and I says, man, and he's a social worker. That's what he does. Yeah, he went to college and everything.
Good for him.
Yeah. So he's an extension of to take it to a new level. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And we need more young people involved. I think it's so critical that we get kids that maybe not in college, but in high school even, even going door to door and asking questions about what's your biggest concern in the neighborhood?
Right.
And maybe it's a pothole and maybe it's a drug dealer down the street.
It's true.
You don't know unless you ask. And then at that point, say, well, let's get some neighbors together and see if we can make some changes here.
Right.
because I see so many people, I'm a crime and violence prevention consultant.
Oh yeah, you do very well at what you do. Yes.
And I see so many people that are isolated and waiting for somebody else to handle situations. And when actually the police can't be effective unless they have concrete information. So just taking down descriptions of a license number of somebody that visited the prostitute or any information can be turned over to the FBI or the police department. So we need to get much more involvement in our communities. Would you agree?
Oh yes. The more you organize with the community, just like I was doing the job with drywall, and the police officers came and says, "Well, it was about because we work at night, particularly in the summertime, to beat the heat." So, and sure enough, someone called the police, said, "Hey, I see a light over here," because we work with these lights at night. And the officer was very nice. I said, "Yes, officer." He's seen that it was dirty and dusty, and the other guy was dirty and dusty. So he says, "Okay, everything's fine. Can I have you see your ID?" I said, "Sure." So it's just as easy as 1, 2, 3. So I like that, it goes to show the community somebody was awake at that hour of the morning to see us working. So
good.
I didn't get mad or anything about it. I said, "Well, that's good. That's a good community." Yeah, I liked
Absolutely. People are staying alert.
Yes.
We all have to be alert, especially for our young children.
Yes.
Do you find that people are a little concerned about when we were growing up, we let our kids out to play and didn't think about it.
Right.
How do people feel about that today?
Well, it's much different today. A lot of parents want to let their kids go out in certain areas or out to play or whatever. When we were coming up, but what I do is I make a game or fun out of it. I said, son, if you want to punish your child, take away their device that they're playing with and tell them to go outside. Go outside.
Good luck with
that. And they said, "Well, I want to go outside. I don't want to go outside." It's just the opposite. When we were coming up, we couldn't wait to get outside and play. Yeah. Today, man, all the kids want to do is just play with their gadgets. So it's
I think that's very concerning. Would you agree with that? Because
yes, 100%.
They say that the screen time, and I've seen 3-year-olds sitting or people at a restaurant, they're sitting there and everybody's on their device. So and I'm going, we remember when there was conversation going on.
Oh yes, yeah. That interaction, it's still needed. I think that's what takes away. That hug, just a little squeeze, or a handshake or something like that. It's meaningful. It really is.
And that's what bothers me too, is that a lot of times people today with the COVID, the kids aren't getting enough hugs.
Right.
And it makes it really hard for parents because, they're trying to teach the children and there have to be everything to them.
Yeah.
This makes it really difficult.
Yes.
What's do you see in your neighborhood about that? Or do you guys talk about that at all?
Yeah, we do discuss it. My sister and I, my brothers and a few friends, we discuss the various different changes and things that we see that are different than we were growing up. It's not that the kids are that bad. It's just that the things that they're doing and the way they're learning today is much different. And is that a disadvantage or is that, well, I look at it from two ways, in a way it's a disadvantage because everything you need to know is right there on that gadget you got in your hand. I said years ago I had to go to the library, which was a good thing because it got me out the house. But now you just go on that gadget and get it. Another factor, as you indicated earlier, the kids are playing on that machine. So therefore they become addicted. So we're not just talking about drugs. We're talking about another addiction now. You take away that device and what happens? Mommy, daddy, man, they'll cry like a baby, which they wasn't. Yeah. So it's different.
I'm wondering where we're going with all of this because eventually we will be getting out and seeing each other again. Do the kids in your area, and I know you're in Washington D.C. area?
Yeah, Washington. Now I'm in Washington. I used to be in Baltimore.
Okay.
And, but this I watch what the children do here too. I certainly do.
Yeah. And what is your biggest concern there? Is it drugs or something else?
Well, drugs is still my main issue, but still in all, you know, they dress differently. You know,
They do from Baltimore.
Girls, yeah, the girls and the boys. Well, not just from Baltimore, but basically the same way, but the same style. You know, there's no, what's I want to say? There's no. It doesn't seem like there's any pride or respect there for themselves. And if you lose that, you lose everything. Okay. You know, when you come out, when we're coming up, you know, we go to an event, we wear our clothes, you know, wear our best shoes, we wear our best pants and slacks and shirts and things like that. Today, a lot of kids, they're tennis. They're in the tennis era now. You know, you don't see a pair of shoes where they keep them shined or things like that. I don't feel that I'm old fashioned. I just think it's a nice way of showing that grooming that you can maintain. Okay, as you mature in life, you know, you change. But today, the change is so weird and so different. It's
every generation is quite a bit of difference, isn't there?
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
well, Richard,
and the language too.
Oh, the language, yes.
Yeah.
And the shows that they're watching.
Yes.
You know, I mean, everything changes. So, you know, one of the things you said is that I've learned as a concerned citizen, you can really make a difference in people's lives, and you certainly have. And I want to commend you for the work you've been doing and the books that are available. Tell us again where people can find your books.
Yeah, you go on Facebook at drugfreecharlie.com.
Okay, good. And do you have any final things you'd like to add that we've been talking about? Anything?
Well, for those individuals who feel that they may not have the power to make a difference, as you indicated, in someone's life, realize the fact that you do. All it takes is one person, and you'll be amazed how you can influence and impact and have a great impact on other people's lives. You really
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for your message. Thank you for what you've been doing for the kids in your area. And let's hope that the COVID problem gets solved in a rather fast fashion here, because I think everybody's tired of the masks and we need to get out and hug those kids.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you for your audience. You have a wonderful audience. And thank you for the questions. I really appreciate it. I hope I answered everything to everyone's satisfaction. Thank you.
You were great. Thank you so much, Richard.
You're welcome.
And I will look forward to talking to you soon.
Okay.
And I will say goodbye, and we will give some announcements about next week. So
okay. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work.
You take care.
All right.
Okay, I just want to mention that we have a wonderful guest next week, just as we did this week. His name is Jay Gordon Boyd, and he has been doing some wonderful things in school. Now, you've been hearing a lot about what's going on in schools. He has a totally different idea, and he's making it work in Canada, and it's called a STEPS program, and we will hear about it next Wednesday at 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock in the East. So join us to hear more about the STEPS program. And thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.